Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sorry.
Jai Om, Mr.
Yes, Maharaj, please.
Carry on. Carry on.
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarajak Acharya Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Founder Acharya of ISKCON Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarajak Acharya Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayo Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavandam Ki Jai. Shri Mathurdam Ki Jai. Shri Navadvipdam Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puridam Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Chamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Mridanga Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaura Premanandi, Hare. So, I welcome you to Srimad Bhagavatam reading with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. Today is February 7, 2025, and the time is 7 p.m. New Jersey / USA time. And today we're going to begin with, and this is Srimad Bhagavatam class. It happens on Fridays, and not only on Fridays, but also on Mondays, Wednesdays, also. And on Thursdays we have Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita class, also by His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj. So today we're going to begin with text 60, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 9, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home. And the text is text 60. I'm going to begin with the Sanskrit. Mahamani Vratama. Oh, sorry. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mahamani Vratamaye Satasmin Bhava Notame Lalito Nitaram Petra Nyavasad Divi Devabat. Translation. Dhruva Maharaj thereafter lived in his father's palace, which had walls bedecked with highly valuable jewels. His affectionate father took particular care of him, and he dwelled in that house just as the demigods live in their palaces in the higher planetary systems. So Maharaj, if you have any contribution related to this text 60.
I think we can proceed forth.
Yes, Maharaj. Text 61. Paya Penani Ba Shaya Tanta Rukma Parichadaham Asanani Maharhani Yatra Rukma Upashkaraham. Translation. The bedding in the palace was as white as the foam of milk and was very soft. The bedsteads were made of ivory with embellishments of gold, and the chairs, benches, and other sitting places and furniture were made of gold. Any comment, Maharaj?
Carry on.
Text 62. Yatra Spatika Kudyeshu Mahamara Kateshu Cha Mani Pradipa Abanti Lalana Ratna Samyutaham. The palace of the king was surrounded by walls made of marble with many engravings made of valuable jewels like sapphires, which depicted beautiful women with shining jewel lamps in their hands. Purport. The description of King Uttanapada's palace depicts the state of affairs many hundreds and thousands of years ago, long before Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. Since it is described that Maharaj Dhruva ruled for 36,000 years, he must have lived in the Satya Yuga when people lived for 100,000 years. The life durations in the four yugas are also mentioned in the Vedic literature. In the Satya Yuga, people used to live for 100,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, people lived for 10,000 years. In Dwapara Yuga, they lived for 1,000 years. And in this age, Kali Yuga, people may live up to 100 years. With the progressive advance of each new yuga, the duration of human life is reduced by 90%, from 100,000 to 10,000, from 10,000 to 1,000, and from 1,000 to 100. It is said that Dhruva Maharaj was the great-grandson of Lord Brahma. This indicates that Dhruva Maharaj's time was in the Satya Yuga, in the beginning of creation. During one day of Lord Brahma, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are many Satya Yugas. According to the Vedic calculation, at the present moment, the 28th millennium is current. It can be calculated that Dhruva Maharaj lived many millions of years ago. But the description of the palace of Dhruva's father is so glorious that we cannot accept that advanced human civilization did not exist even 40 or 50,000 years ago. There were walls like those in the palace of Maharaj Uttanapad even very recently, during the Mughal period. Anyone who has seen the Red Fort in Delhi must have marked that the walls are made of marble and were once decorated with jewels. During the British period, all these jewels were taken away and dispatched to the British Museum. The conception of worldly opulence was formerly based mainly on natural resources such as jewels, marble, silk, ivory, gold, and silver. The advancement of economic development was not based on big motor cars. Advancement of human civilization depends not on industrial enterprises, but on possession of natural wealth and natural food, which is all supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we may save time for self-realization and success in the human form of body. Another aspect of this verse is that Dhruva Maharaj's father, Uttanapad, would very soon give up attachment for his palaces and would go to the forest for self-realization. From the description of Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, we can make a very thorough comparative study of modern civilization and the civilization of mankind in the other millenniums, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Shakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Shacharine. Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vatsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I have a comment related to text 62. I just finished the reading of the purport, and it is related to the following quote in the purport, where Srila Prabhupada declares that, quote, advancement of human civilization depends not on industrial enterprises, but on possession of natural wealth and natural food, which is all supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we may save time for self-realization and success in the human form of body. Close quote. So based on this quote, my comment would be that it doesn't matter how many speculations are there about what is to be categorized as success in the human form of body. The success in the human form of body is being taught to us by the disciplic succession, and here Srila Prabhupada, the representative of the disciplic succession, is saying that if we do not save time for self-realization, and if we do not develop God consciousness in the sense of understanding who God is and how much He loves us and how much we can love Him, then it doesn't matter how how much money we have, how many cars, how many houses, all the material possessions. Um, we will be categorized as a failure in terms of success in the human form of body. The human form of body was and is designed for the purpose of developing God consciousness in the sense of understanding God and loving Him. Only then we will be recognized as successful human beings. Accumulation of material possessions, like in something I would like to add to my comment is that here in this quote, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the difference between natural life and artificial life. Artificial life takes us to hell, to hellish quality of life, because we do not have the time to develop God consciousness in the sense of understanding God and loving Him. But if we live a natural life with the help of the blessings of the Lord, which in the form of natural wealth and natural food, then we will be able to save time for understanding God and for loving Him. And then and only then we will be recognized as successful human beings. So that is my comment related to this quote by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, if you have any contribution?
Well, the Prabhupada covers a lot of ground here. First, there's the chronology, the time span, the whole that whole picture, where we're just absolutely in a different world from modern scientific worldview. And it's, as Sadhaputta Prabhu and Judakarma Prabhu have shown, it's not just because the evidence all goes their way and it doesn't go the opposite way. It's because there's a determined agenda there for essentially an evolutionary picture going all the way down to chemical evolution, where life comes from chemicals, and then the life that arises gradually evolves up to the point of Homo sapiens and modern civilized life. That's the picture to which they're committed, and they're committed to having a picture in which God is not necessary. And the picture here is very different, and yes, very different picture, and there is evidence for it. There is evidence for an older human society, much older. What's the word? Unacceptably older. So that we find in Sadhaputta's writings, or we just take it from the Puranas. These are the time scales for yugas cycling. And then, of course, there's the advancement of human civilization. If there was civilization 10,000 years ago, it must have been primitive. But here we find millions of years ago that there's human civilization, and it's more advanced than what we have now. Here in Sydney in the morning, we were discussing so-called advancement of civilization, which is not, which advances, as Prabhupada says, by motor cars and such factory products, but not from spiritual understanding or culture. All right, I think that's as far as I wanted to go. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So I need a reader for Maharaj. Do you have with you anyone Mother Saraswati Devidasi has her hand raised? Mother Saraswati, please.
Pranams, Param Puji Maharaj, and all the Vaishnavas. Maharaj, I was fortunate enough to go on Mayapur TV and listen to your very nice talk in the class, and you practically you shattered all these illusions that people have in terms of thinking that we are progressing, whereas we're not, as you clearly pointed out. And one of the things that I'm thinking of is, yes, this whole modern civilization, you could coin it as a sort of a grinding machine. Everybody is, being thrown in this machine and ground to bits. We find, including devotees, that it's so hard to, even if you only have one child, to maintain a family of, spouse and a child is backbreaking. And I was reading somewhere where, well, actually not somewhere, in Bhagavad Gita, where Srila Prabhupada talks about the five states of suffering. He said, represented by the letters pa, fa, ba, pa, and ma. And he said pa means parishram, very hard labor. Fa, which is the foam, because here they're talking about how beautiful the bedding was, that it was like the foam of a milk. But here, fa, fin, foam from the mouth. And the example Srila Prabhupada gives is like that the horse is foaming at the mouth from intense labor, and so is a human being that is laboring so hard just to make ends meet. Ba means pyarthata, disappointment. Despite heavy labor, ultimately we're disappointed. Ba means bhaya, fear in material life. One is always in the blazing fire of fear because no one knows when the next catastrophe is coming. Ma means mrityu, death. When one tries to nullify these five states of life, he achieves apavarga, liberation. So I was just thinking what Maharaj would say about here. It clearly mentions we're supposed to be saving time and not be I shouldn't say wasting, but utilizing valuable energy. We only have a finite amount of energy. It's not that we have infinite energy like Krishna. It's very limited, the amount of energy and time that we have. How to save time when people, including devotees, are working so hard to just make ends meet. Hare Krishna.
Well, two answers. One is in terms of time, there is time, it's just being wasted. One, I think it was Seneca, one of the Greek or Roman writers, he said, look after the minutes, and the hours will look after themselves. See to the minutes, and the hours will look after themselves. So if we're careful with our time, there is time for chanting Hare Krishna, for reading Shastra, for spiritual activities. The other thing is that we tend to, if we're working, it's good to know how to work in such a way that we don't overburden ourselves. I've pointed out before that our Vamsidhari Gopal Prabhu has given a series of a seminar on personal finance for devotees, which I would urge every householder at least to see, because it gives valuable counsel on how to manage money, which so many devotees don't know. They marry, they work, and at the end of 50 years of working, they have no money. And they could have had money, but they don't know the science, not the science of like super smart investing, playing the stocks or anything like that, but just common sense principles of budgeting, especially, and a few other points that would enable them to work less hard. And for those who are Hindi speakers, Anand Vrindavan Prabhu has done a similar seminar.
Maharaj, you're frozen. And we
It's
cannot.
just
Yes. It's okay now.
I was just discussing with a devotee who is in his 40s and just purchased a new house a couple of years ago. His eldest son is 20, his younger son is like 16, and they decided that the house isn't big enough, and so they've moved to a larger house on which there's a still outstanding mortgage of $800,000, which he figures he can pay off in 10 years. That is to say, when he's 60 something, he'll have paid off this mortgage. And Hare Krishna, I think Vamsi Hari Gopal Prabhu and Ananda Vrindavan would not have advised investing that way. Even our Murari Gupta Prabhu, who's a physician from Croatia, who's in the Vanaprastha ashram, that was one of his items of advice. Once you're 40, don't invest in anything that you would have to pay off when you're in your 50s and 60s. Common sense. If you want to retire, then don't incur new debts, but rather shave down your existing expenses. If we reduce, it's easier to reduce your expenses than it is to make more money. It's easier to reduce your expenses than it is to make more money. So devotees would be well advised to cut, to spend as frugally as they can, and then take other advice from Ananda Vrindavan Prabhu or from Sri Hari Gopal Prabhu regarding financial management. The money is there, but we have to use it skillfully. Yeah, maybe that's as much as I want to say on that topic.
And Maharaj, we have a post in the chat. Murari Prabhu is saying, Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's ironic that we are told that we have never had it so good as, quote, modern, close quote, days, but actually things have never been worse except for the Sankirtan movement.
Paramudvahato Vimuddha. Prahlad Maharaj says they built a burdensome civilization. Anyway, I won't reprise my class from this morning, but yes, agreed.
Maharaj, do you have anyone who
we have so many. Yes, Jill, you want to read?
Udyanani charamyani vichitrair amara dumayi kujat vihanga mitunair gayan mata maturatai. The king's residence was surrounded by gardens wherein there were varieties of trees brought from the heavenly planets. In those trees there were pairs of sweetly singing birds and almost mad bumblebees, which made a very relishable buzzing sound. Purport. In this verse, the word Amara Drumahi In this verse, the word Amara Drumahi, with trees brought from the heavenly planets, is very significant. The heavenly planets are known as Amara Loka, the planets where death is very much delayed, because the people there live for 10,000 years according to the calculations of the demigods, in which our 6 months are equal to 1 day. The demigods live in the heavenly planets for months, years, and 10,000s of years, according to demigod time. And then again, after the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down to this earth. These are the statements that can be collected from Vedic literature. As the people there live for 10,000 years, course, here on this earth, there are many trees which live for 10,000 years. So what to speak of the trees on the heavenly planets? They must live for more than many 10,000s of years. And sometimes, as practice, even now, some valuable trees are taken from one place to another. It is elsewhere stated that when Lord Krishna went to the heavenly planets with his wife Satyabhama, he took a parijata flower tree from heaven and brought it to the earth. There was a fight between Krishna and the demigods due to the parijata trees being taken from heaven to this planet. The parijata was planted in the palace of Lord Krishna, which was occupied by Queen Satyabhama. The flower and fruit trees in the heavenly planets are superior, for they are very pleasant and tasteful. And it appears that in the palace of Maharaj Uttanapad, there were many varieties of such trees.
Any comments? Keep reading a little more.
Vakya Vaidurya Sopnaha Padmotvala Pumadgatihi Vishakarandava Kulai Vistas Chakrava Sarasahi. Translation. There were emerald staircases which led to lakes full of various colored lotus flowers and lilies, swans, karandavas, chakravakas, cranes, and similar other valuable birds were visible into those lakes. Purple. It appears that not only was the palace surrounded by compounds and gardens with varieties of trees, but there were small man-made lakes also, where the water was full of many colored lotus flowers and lilies. And to get down to the lakes, there were staircases made of valuable jewels, such as emeralds. By the beautifully positioned garden house, there were many luxuriant birds, such as swans, chakravakas, karandavas, and cranes. These birds generally do not live in pretty places like crows do. The atmosphere of the city was very healthy and beautiful. It can simply be imagined from its description.
Anything to say? Yes, next.
Uttanapado Rajrishi Prabhavam Tanayasyatam Shrutva Drishtva Dupatamam Prapede Vismayam Param. The saintly king Uttanapad, hearing of the glorious deeds of Dhruva Maharaj, and personally seeing also how influential and great he was, felt very satisfied, for Dhruva's activities were wonderful to the supreme degree. Purport. When Dhruva Maharaj was in the forest executing his austerities, his father, Uttanapad, heard everything about its very wonderful activities. Although Dhruva Maharaj was the son of a king and was only 5 years old, he went to the forest and executed devotional service under strict austerity. Therefore his acts were all wonderful, and when he came back home, naturally, because of his spiritual qualifications, he became very popular amongst the citizens. He must have performed many wonderful activities by the grace of the Lord. No one is more satisfied than the father of a person who is credited with glorious activities. Maharaj Uttanapad was not an ordinary king. He was a Rajarishi, saintly king. Formerly, this earth was ruled by one saintly king only. Kings were trained to become saintly, therefore they had no other concern than the welfare of the citizens. These saintly kings were properly trained, and as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, also, the science of God, or the yoga system of devotional service, known as Bhagavad Gita, was spoken to the saintly king of the sun planet, and gradually it descended through the Kshatriya kings who were generated from the sun and the moon. If the head of the government is saintly, certainly the citizens become saintly, and they are very happy because both their spiritual and physical needs and hankerings are satisfied.
So this is the ideal, that there should be a cultured and powerful leader, and then the citizens will be happy. When the king is saintly, then, as Prabhupada says, the people are properly trained, and they'll have everything they need for being happy in this life and going back home, back to Godhead. That's the real business. They have a human civilization in which there's only sense enjoyment in this life and hardly any understanding of going back to Godhead. And the activities for enjoyment are not very enjoyable. Plus, there's contrary to the laws of God, the laws of nature. And so people are suffering, even just from these diseases and so on. So much unnecessary suffering because of sinful activities. And everybody knows it. It's just like this meat eating. It's understood that it's unhealthy. My sister had a bout with breast cancer, and the first thing one of the things the doctor said, cut out meat. That could have been told to her, when she was a kid. Why wait till you reap disease? So this drinking, smoking, meat eating, illicit sex also, all of them lead to disease. But we're going on with these activities and suffering. So in a proper kingdom, the king is actually concerned for the welfare of these citizens, first of all, and the second, able to do something because he has power and he has knowledge and he has culture. In the present circumstance, we don't even get to the first point. Do they really care about the citizens other than that's production units or votes to be counted? So much is to be said on this topic. We can go on and on. But the theme appears again and again in Prabhupada's Bhagavatam reports that there should be proper leadership, which means God-conscious leadership, trained in the Vedic culture and strong in working for the welfare of the citizens, materially and spiritually. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there's a post by Saraswati Devi Dasi Mataji. She says, this reminds me of the Pandavas. Indraprastha and Vishvakarma is also the architect for demigods. Also, the Danavas, Asuras also have living conditions that rival heavenly planets, where the great demon Maya Danav is their architect.
Yes. The craftsmanship is not something new. All these little great gadgets and architectural wonders. And nothing's very wonderful these days, practically speaking. Very rarely do we see anything wonderful in architecture. It's mostly Bauhaus box architecture with no aesthetic value. And anyway, we won't go on about it. But Maya Donovan was quite something.
And Tulasi Priya Dasi Mataji writes, I've heard of one style called, quote, brutalist, close quote. So if any other contribution related to the to the text we have been reading, if not, anyone with you, Maharaj, who would like to go on reading? I guess not.
Yes, we have one more
Please,
voice we have not yet heard.
please, Maharaj.
Vikshuyatya vyasam tam cha pratinam cha samatam ankurakta prajam raja dhruvam chakre bhuvapatem. Translation: When after concentration, King Uttanapad saw that Dhruva Maharaj was suitably mature to take charge of the kingdom, and take his ministers were agreeable, and the citizens were also very fond of him, he enthroned Dhruva as emperor of this planet. But although it is misconceived that formerly the monarchical government was autocratic, autocratic. From the description of this verse, it appears that not only was King Uttanapad a Rajatir, but before installing his beloved son Dhruva on the throne of the empire of the world, he consulted his ministerial officers, considered the opinion of the public, and also personally examined Dhruva's character. Then the king installed him on the throne to take charge of the affairs of the world. When a Vaishnava king like Dhruva Maharaj is the head of the government of the entire world is so happy that it is not possible to imagine or describe. Even now, if people would all become Krishna conscious, the democratic government of the present day would be exactly like the kingdom of heaven. If all people became Krishna conscious, they would vote for persons of the category of Dhruva Maharaj. If the post of chief executive were occupied by such a Vaishnava, all the problems of satanic government would be solved. The youthful generation of the present day is very enthusiastic in trying to overthrow the government in different parts of the world. But unless people are Krishna conscious, like Dhruva Maharaj, there will be no appreciable changes in government, because people who hanker to attain political position by hook or by crook cannot think of the welfare of the people. They are only busy to keep their position of prestige and monetary gain. They have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens.
Yes, that's the actual position that first of all, Prabhupada points out that although the government was monarchical, it wasn't just autocratic, it wasn't dictatorial. There were some mechanisms in place, not just mechanisms, because everything now is a mechanism, but the king would take counsel. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes to the effect, woe to the kingdom whose king is a lackey and who cannot take good advice. I think I haven't merged two verses. I could look at some point. But that's what you get is kings or government heads who are lackeys. They're paid off to prostitute their country. We can rape your resources. We can use you as a pawn in our geopolitical struggles. Just we'll pay you enough that you'll give us the key to the state. You'll open the doors for us so that we can use your country, and you'll do it because we'll pay you. You'll live a luxurious life. And if you don't agree, then we'll beat the daylights out of you. That's the other side. This is modern diplomacy, the ancient diplomacy too, for that matter. As someone said, someone done paid. We'll give you a bribe, and if you don't take our bribe, then we'll beat you up, or beat your kingdom up. So these things are going on. The so-called democratic governments, no, they stand for democracy in the world and all of that. This is so much propaganda. Anyway, I won't go on about that, but the tendency of great democratic powers to co-opt smaller states and just suck everything they can out of them for personal profit is quite something. So if there were a Krishna conscious government, then people would be happy. Otherwise, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. We have posted in the chat, Praveen Prabhu writes, and this is Shruta Kirti speaking. This morning, while walking in Merritt Park in downtown Oakland, we passed a small zoo with a large sign in front of it that read, quote, Children's Fairyland, close quote. Quote, Children's Fairyland, close quote, Srila Prabhupada read. Pointing to the skyscrapers, he added, quote, Adults Fairyland, close quote. And Priti Purna Madhavi Devidasi writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, one of the leaders in India banned illegitimate slaughterhouses for cows, and there was heavy protest. In today's age, if a king would try to prohibit his praja from leading a sinful life, it may not be taken well, and thus kings are hesitant to do it. So where is the hope in Kali Yuga to have a pious rule?
Well, it strikes me as unlikely, but where is the hope for the holy name of Krishna to spread all over the world? Before Prabhupada came, Godbrothers thought it was maybe some sort of literary expression. Didn't seem possible for every village and town to have the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Now it's there. So if that's possible, anything's possible. So if and Prabhupada mentions the young people are enthusiastic to overthrow the government, especially in the 1960s. But I think still, yeah, I'm getting nods. Still, we'd all like to see the government thrown in the lake, and the younger generation is enthusiastic about it, but they don't have a replacement. So, for example, in my youth, the slogan was during the Vietnam era, make love, not war. So our alternative to brutal wars is illicit sex. But as Prabhupada points out, illicit sex fuels wars because it increases the mode of passion, and the mode of passion results in war. So their theme was make love, not war. But no, the more you make love, the more you'll have war. Prabhupada wrote an article about it, basically flip sides of the same coin. We want to have one world, but my love we want to have love for other nations or peace within it, but my love for my country results in hatred for your country. So at the present, in this setup, there's no hope. But if Krishna consciousness becomes prevalent, anything's possible.
Yes, Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Anyone else from your part to read?
And no one else from my side.
So we have, well, I think we have time for text 67. And Jova Nananda Mataji is here. Would you like to read? If you can hear me. Okay, I'm going to do this by order of appearance on my screen. Ross Prabhu, are you able to read?
I am unable to read, Prabhu.
Yes. What about Tulasi Priya Dasi Mataji? Would you like to read text 67?
One thing is it's a long purport, and we have.
Yes, it is a long purport.
So should we not read it? Or start and finish it next time?
Well, it would finish the chapter, but I would think that 7 minutes doesn't give us time to read it properly. And yeah, let's do kirtan instead. We like kirtan.
Of course, Maharaj.
Yeah, Kendra says 7 minutes is enough for kirtan. At least enough for a start. And we've got the band. Last day of the Sydney band.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad, Purnam Suparipad, Charja, Ashto Tulasita Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anand Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Tum Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadvip Kam Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Brahmanamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
So, Maharaj Priti Purna Madhavi Devidasi Mataji writes, thank you, Maharaj. And Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, thank you, Maharaj, and Vijaya Krishna Prabhu. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
I received a note that Kendra
You're frozen, Maharaj, and we cannot hear
expression
you.
of good fortune. Very fortunate mother to have Krishna conscious son, Krishna conscious daughter-in-law. So loss, but mixed with very good fortune. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Ekender Prabhu, if you can hear me, would you like to say the closing words, please?
Thank you so much, Vijay Krishna Prabhu. And thank you, Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Brindaki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Maharaj, for having us.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.